control, before discipline, before the very idea of restraint. There was only impulse, only raw, unfiltered chaos 2.5 million years ago in the heart of East Africa. A species stood on the edge of extinction, not because they were weak, but because they hadn't learned the one thing that would save them: control. They were Homo. Habilis, the handy man. Their brains were growing, their hands were free to craft tools. But capability without discipline is just wasted potential. In a land where predators ruled the night, wasted potential meant death. Imagine a small clan starving, their ribs showing. They had tools, they had fire, but they were dying because they couldn't control their panic, their fear, or their resources. Food was eaten immediately, never saved. This isn't just a story about survival. It's about transformation. About the moment our ancestors realized the greatest enemy wasn't the predator outside, but the chaos within.
2.5 million years ago, the Olduvai Gorge wasn't a gorge yet. It was a vast, shallow basin, a land being torn apart by the forming Great Rift Valley. Here, life clung to existence with bloody fingernails. The landscape was a patchwork of extremes: sun-scorched grasslands, smoking volcanoes, and a seasonal lake that often vanished, leaving behind cracked mud and bones. The river that once sustained the clan was now just a dry scar. They dug into its damp sand for moisture, but even that was running out. The sun wasn't alive, it was a hammer, beating down relentlessly, making thinking difficult and mistakes inevitable. At night, the temperature plummeted and the predators emerged: hyenas, leopards, and massive saber-toothed cats. This world did not forgive mistakes. And caught in the middle was Homo habilis, fragile, experimental, and vulnerable. They had no claws, no venom, no thick hide. What they did have was their brain, and now they had to use it to survive. His name, if names existed, would have been something simple, something that reflected what he was. Survivor, teacher, the one who remembered. But names did not exist yet. Language was still primitive, a collection of grunts, clicks, gestures, and vocalizations that conveyed emotion more than meaning. So he was known only by presence. By the way others looked at him, by the quiet authority that radiated from his stillness. He was older than most, perhaps 35 years, an age so ancient in this time that it bordered on miraculous. His body bore the evidence of survival scars from predator claws, burns from fire, a limp in his right leg from a fall that should have killed him. His skin was dark and weathered, stretched tight over bones that jutted at sharp angles from months of hunger. His hair was streaked with gray, his teeth worn down to nubs. But his eyes were sharp, calculating, alive. Around him, the clan moved with the restless energy of desperation. They were a study in contrasts: youth and age, strength and weakness, hope and resignation. There was the mother, young, maybe 20. Her infant clung to her chest, its ribs visible through its skin, its cries weak and infrequent. She had not produced milk in weeks. She fed the child by pre-chewing food and passing it mouth to mouth. But there was so little food that even that was becoming impossible. Her eyes were hollow, haunted by a grief she could not yet name because her child was still alive. But she knew. Deep down, she knew. There was the young male, 17, maybe 18. Taland, Lian, his body built for running, for endurance, for the kind of persistence hunting that required chasing prey for hours until it collapsed from exhaustion. But he was reckless, impulsive. He wasted energy on displays of aggression, on challenging the older males, on proving himself in ways that only drained the group's already fragile resources. He had not learned restraint. And it so wed there was the elder female, older even than the scarred male. Perhaps 40. She moved slowly, her joints stiff, her hands gnarled from years of tool-making. She could no longer hunt, could barely walk more than a few miles without needing rest. But she was valuable, she remembered. She knew which plants were edible, which roots held water, which paths led to seasonal springs. She was the memory of the clan, and as long as she lived, they had a chance. And there were others, a pair of adolescent females who foraged together, their coordination suggesting sisterhood. A young boy, maybe 10, who shadowed the scarred male everywhere, watching everything he did, mimicking his movements. An injured male who lay in the shade, his legs swollen and infected, his breathing shallow. He would be dead within days. Everyone knew it. But no one said it, because saying it made it real. This was the clan. 15 fragile lives bound together by necessity, by blood, by the simple fact that alone they would die faster. But even together, they were failing, because they had not yet learned the fundamental truth that would define humanity for the next 2 million years. Control. The scarred male watched them from the edge of the grove, watched the young male waste energy posturing, watched the mother weep silently over her dying child, watched the clan bicker over a scrap of dried meat that should have been saved, should have been rationed, but was instead devoured in a frenzy of hunger and panic. And he made a decision. He stood, slowly, deliberately, and he began to strike 2 stones together. The sound was sharp, rhythmic, commanding. One by one, the clan turned toward him. They stopped moving, stopped arguing, stopped panicking, and they watched. Because something in his posture, something in the weight of his gaze, told them that what was about to happen mattered. That this moment, right here, was the difference between extinction and survival. He did not speak. Language was too crude for what he needed to say. Instead, he showed them. He took a stone tool-sharp flake he had crafted the night before and placed it deliberately on a flat rock. Then he picked up another stone, and another, and another. He arranged them in a line. 4 stones, 4 rules, 4 laws. He pointed to his mouth. Then he placed his hand over it. Silence. Control what you say. Control when you make sound. Wasted breath attracts predators. Wasted words create chaos. He pointed to his head. Then he closed his eyes and breathed slowly, deliberately, centering himself. Control what you think. Do not let fear decide. Do not let panic rule. The mind must be sharp, focused, disciplined. He pointed to his chest, where the heart beats, where emotion lives. Then he made a calming gesture, palms down, pressing toward the earth. Control how you feel. Do not let anger fracture the group. Do not let despair steal your will. Mood is a choice. Choose wisely. Finally, he pointed to the small pile of dried meat they had left. Then he covered it with a broad leaf and placed a stone on top. Control your resources. Do not consume everything now. Save, ration, plan for tomorrow, even when today feels impossible. 4 laws. Mouth, mind, mood, resources. The clan stared. Some understood immediately. Others looked confused, but the young boy who had been shadowing him nodded slowly. He picked up a stone and placed it next to the 4. He mimicked the gestures. Understood. And in that moment, something shifted. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But the seed was planted. A new way of thinking. A recognition that survival required more than strength or tools or intelligence. It required discipline. It required control. The question was, could they learn it fast enough? The test came sooner than anyone expected. 3 days after the scarred male introduced the 4 laws, the clan was on the move. They had no choice. The water source they had been digging into a damp section of the riverbed had finally run dry. If they stagiated, they would die of thirst within a week. So they packed what little they had, fire embers wrapped in leaves, and carried in hollow gourds, stone tools tied to their waists, with plant fiber, dried strips of meat wrapped in bark. And they began walking! The destination was a place the elder female remembered, a spring fed by underground water, located at the base of a rocky hillside about 15 miles to the north. 15 miles! In the heat, with children and an injured male who could barely walk. It would take 2 days, maybe 3, and every step of the way they would be exposed, vulnerable, visible to every predator that hunted the open grassland. The scarred male led. He moved slowly, conservatively, stopping frequently to let the others rest. He checked the horizon constantly, his eyes scanning for movement, for the telltale shapes of lions, for the distant laughter of hyenas. He enforced silence when the young male started to vocalize, perhaps to assert dominance. Perhaps out of nervousness, the scarred male turned and stared at him until he stopped. "Control your mouth!" The young male bristled. His jaw clenched. But he said nothing. He fell into line. They walked through the morning. The sun climbed higher, hotter, until the air itself seemed to ripple and pulse. The ground beneath their feet was hard-packed and cracked, scattered with stones that cut their calloused soles. Dust rose with every step, coating their skin, filling their lungs. The children whimpered. The mother with the dying infant fell behind, struggling to keep pace. But they kept moving, because stopping meant dying faster. By midday, they reached a dry, streamed a shallow channel cutting through the plain, its sides lined with thorn bushes. The scarred male led them down into it. The walls provided some shade, some relief from the sun. They rested there for an hour, panting in the heat. Conserving energy, the elder female found a patch of tubers buried in the sand. They dug them up, shared them carefully, each person receiving only a small portion. "Control your resources!" the young male protested. He was hungry and he wanted more. He reached for another tuber, but the scarred male stopped him. A single gesture, a look. The young male's eyes flashed with anger. He could take it. He was stronger, but he hesitated. Because deep down, beneath the posturing and the pride, he was starting to understand if he took more than his share, someone else would go without. And if someone else weakened, the whole clan weakened. He withdrew his hand. He sat back. He controlled himself. Day! Moved on! By late afternoon, as the sun began its descent and the shadows stretched long across the grassland, they encountered the first real danger. Hyenas, a pack of them. 6 adults. They appeared on the ridgeline to the east, silhouettes against the orange sky, watching, waiting. Hyenas were patient hunters. They did not need to attack immediately. They simply followed, waited for weakness, waited for someone to fall behind, to collapse, to become easy prey, and then they struck. The clan saw them and froze. Panic rippled through the group. The children pressed close to the adults. The mother clutched her infant tighter. The young male picked up a stone, ready to fight, but the scarred male raised his hand. "Stop! Do not react! Do not waste energy! Do not give them fear!" He turned and kept walking. Slowly, calmly, deliberately, showing no weakness, showing no fear. "Control your mood! Do not let the predator see panic!" The clan followed his lead. They walked. The hyenas followed. 100 yards back, shadows drifting through the grass. Watching. Calculating. This continued for hours. As the sun set and the temperature dropped, the clan reached a cluster of boulders, a pile of volcanic rock that had tumbled down from the highlands millennia ago. The scarred male led them into the center of the formation, into a space where the rocks created natural walls on 3 sides. Defensible. They gathered wood dry grass, thorn branches, anything that would beyond, built a fire in the entrance. The flames crackled to life, bright and fierce, a barrier between them and the night. The hyenas stopped at the edge of the firelight. Their eyes glowed green and cold. They circled! They tested the perimeter, but they did not attack. Fire was still a mystery to them. Something to fear. Something that burned saute just outside the light, laughing their eerie, bone-chilling laugh that sounded almost human. The clan huddled together in the flickering shadows. They did not sleep. They could not. The hyenas were too close. The danger too real. The young male wanted to shout, to throw rocks, to drive them away, but the scarred male stopped him again. Silence. Do not provoke them. Do not waste energy. Wait. Endure. Control. The night stretched on forever, cold and dark and filled with the sound of hyenas circling, probing, looking for weakness. The injured male's breathing grew more labored. The infant stopped crying altogether. The mother rocked back and forth, humming soundlessly, her eyes glassy and distant. And then, in the darkest hour before dawn, One of the hyenas made its move. It darted forward, testing the fire, looking for a gap in the flames. The young male reacted instantly. He grabbed a burning branch and swung it outward, shouting, breaking the silence. The hyena yelped and retreated. But the damage was done. The shout had carried across the plain. And in the distance, other predators heard it. Lions! Drawn by the sound of prey, the scarred male turned to the young male. His expression was not anger. It was something colder. Appointment! Because the young male had broken the first law, he had lost control of his mouth. And now, they would all pay the price. 3 lionesses emerged from the darkness. Massive, silent, their eyes locked on the firelight, on the fragile, exposed clan huddled within. And the real test began. 3 lionesses, 6 hyenas, and 15 exhausted, terrified hominids trapped in a circle of firelight that was shrinking with every passing moment. The wood they had gathered was burning too fast. In less than an hour, the flames would die. And when they did, the predators would close in. The scarred male did not panic. Panic was a luxury he could not afford. Instead, he thought, calculate. He assessed the situation with the cold, brutal logic that had kept him alive for 35 years in a world designed to kill him. The lionesses were the greater threat. Faster, stronger, more dangerous. But they were also more cautious. They would not charge into fire unless they were certain of the kill. The hyenas, on the other hand, were emboldened by numbers. They were opportunists. They would wait for the fire to die and then swarm, so the fire had to stay alive. He turned to the elder female. She understood immediately. Together, they began to work. She pointed to a patch of dry grass growing between 2 boulders, just outside the firelight. He nodded. They would need to retrieve it, but stepping outside the fire's protection meant exposing themselves to attack. It was a calculated risk. One he would have to take. The scarred male picked up a stone. Tool a sharp, hand-sized chopper and gripped it tightly. Then he stepped to the edge of the firelight and waited, watching the lionesses, reading their body language. Their ears were forward. Their tails twitched. They were focused on him. Good. That meant they were not focused on anyone else. He took one step outside the light. The nearest lioness tensed. Her muscles coiled. She was preparing to charge. But she hesitated. Because he was not running. He was not showing fear. He was standing still, staring directly at her, his shoulders squared, his posture radiating defiance. And in that moment of hesitation, the elder female darted out from a different angle, grabbed an armful of grass, and retreated back into the firelight. The lioness turned toward the movement, but it was too late. The elder female was already safe. The scarred male stepped back into the fire's protection. The flames grew brighter, fed by the new fuel. The lionesses paced, frustrated, calculating, waiting for another opportunity. But the scarred male had learned something critical. The predators could be manipulated. If he controlled his fear, if he controlled his reactions, he could control them, at least momentarily. It was not dominance, it was understanding. Knowing when to move, when to stay still, when to show strength and when to retreat. Control your mind! Control your mood! Use fear as information, not as a master! The young male watched this exchange with wide eyes. He had been impulsive, reactive. He had broken the law and nearly gotten them all killed. But now, watching the scarred male navigate the steadily dance with precision and patience, he began to understand. Survival was not about brute strength. It was about discipline, about making the right choice in the right moment, about mastering yourself before you could master the environment. He approached the scarred male and bowed his head slightly. An apology? A sign of respect. The scarred male placed a hand on his shoulder. Forgiveness, but also a warning. Learn, grow, because next time there might not be a second chance. Throughout the night, they repeated the process, gathering fuel, feeding the fire, keeping the predators at bay. The hyenas grew bored and drifted away, but the lionesses remained, patient, persistent, waiting. And then, as the first pale light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, something extraordinary happened. The mother with a dying infant stood up, She had been silent for hours, rocking her child, lost in her own private grief. But now she moved with purpose. She walked to the edge of the firelight and looked out at the lionesses. They stared back, evaluating her as potential prey. Say was weak, slow, an easy target. But she did not run. She did not cry out. Instead, she began to sing. It was not language. It was something older, something primal, a low, rhythmic vocalization that rose and fell like the wind. It was mournful, haunting. It filled the air with something that felt almost like sorrow. The lionesses stopped pacing. They tilted their heads, confused by this strange sound. It was not the sound of prey fleeing. It was not the sound of challenge. It was something else entirely. And in that moment, the mother understood something that would echo through human history for millennia to come. Sound could be a weapon, but it could also be a tool. Not just for communication, but for emotion, for connection, for expressing the inexpressible. Her infant had died sometime during the night. Its body was cold against her chest. She had known for hours, but had not been able to let go. Now, with the dawn breaking and the predators watching, she sang for her child. For all the children who had died on this brutal savanna, for the fragility of life and the inevitability of loss. The clan listened. The scarred male, who had enforced silence for days, did not stop her. Because this was different. This was not wasted breath. This was meaning. This was humanity beginning to emerge from the raw chaos of survival. This was the first step toward ritual, toward art, toward the kind of emotional complexity that would one day define our species. When she finished, she gently laid her child on the ground and covered it with stones. A burial, the first of its kind. And then she stood, wiped her eyes, and rejoined the group. The lionesses, perhaps unnerved by the strange sound, perhaps satisfied that the prey was too dangerous to risk, turned and walked away. The hyenas were long gone. The fire still burned, and the clan had survived the night. But more than that, they had changed. They had learned that control was not just about restraint. It was about channeling energy in the right direction, about knowing when to act and when to wait, about understanding that the greatest battles are fought inside between fear and courage, between impulse and discipline, between chaos and order. The scarred male stood and pointed north, toward the spring, toward survival. They had 12 more miles to walk. But now, they walked differently, with purpose, with discipline, with control. By noon on the second day, they reached the spring. It was everything the elder female had promised. A small pool of clear water nestled at the base of a rocky hillside, fed by an underground aquifer that never ran dry. Trees grew around it, fever trees, with their distinctive yellow bark, wild figs, heavy with fruit. Birds sang in the branches. Insects buzzed in the humid air. It was an oasis, a pocket of life in the middle of desolation. The clan rushed forward, desperate, but the scarred male stopped them with a raised hand. Wait. Observe. Assess. Because water attracted more than just desperate hominids. It attracted everything! And around the spring, partially hidden in the tall grass, were fresh lion tracks. Large ones. Male. Recently made. Somewhere nearby, a massive predator was watching. Waiting. The clan froze. Fear rippled through them. They had come so far, endured so much, and now, at the very edge of salvation, death waited. The young male looked at the scarred elder. What do we do? The scarred male scanned the area. Calculating, the lion was upwind, hidden somewhere in the grass. Approaching the water meant exposing themselves, but staying here meant dying of thirst. They had no choice. They had to drink, but they had to do it smart. He divided them into groups. The strongest adults would approach first, armed with stone tools and burning branches from the fire they still carried. They would form a protective line while the others drank. Fast, efficient, controlled. No panic, no running, no break in formation. The young male stepped forward. He wanted to lead. The scarred male studied him for a moment, then nodded. This was the young male's chance to prove he had learned, to show that he could control himself under pressure. They moved as one. Slowly, deliberately, eyes scanning. The grass rustled. 50 feet away, the lion was there, watching, waiting for someone to break formation, to show weakness. But they did not break. They reached the water. The children drank first, quick gulps, and then retreated. The adults drank next, never taking their eyes off the grass. The young male stood at the front, a burning branch in one hand, a stone chopper in the other, his whole body tense, but controlled. He did not shout. He did not charge. He simply stood his ground. The grass rustled again, closer, and then the lion emerged. Massive, golden, his mane dark and thick, his eyes cold and yellow. He was twice the size of the lionesses they had encountered before, a full-grown male in his prime. A killing machine. The clan did not run, because running triggered the chase. Running meant death. Instead, they stood together, shoulder to shoulder, the fire held high, making themselves look larger, more dangerous, more trouble than they were worth. The lion stared, calculating he could kill one of them, maybe two, but the rest would scatter, and he would not catch them all. And the fire, that strange, bright, burning thing, was unpredictable, dangerous. He let out a low growl, a warning, and then he turned and walked away, disappearing back into the grass. The clan exhaled as one. They had done it. They had controlled their fear, controlled their impulses, and survived. They spent the rest of the day at the spring, drinking deeply, filling hollow gourds with water, gathering figs and tubers. They rested in the shade. They rebuilt the fire. They crafted new tools. And for the first time in months, they felt something close to hope. That night, as the stars emerged and the savannah cooled, the scarred male gathered the clan around the fire. He took 4 stones and placed them in a line again. Mouth, mind, mood, resources, the 4 laws. And one by one, the clan members picked up their own stones and placed them beside his. A silent agreement. Commitment! A new way. A new way of living. The young boy, who had shadowed the scarred male throughout the journey, picked up his stone last. He looked at the elder, and for the first time, he smiled. He understood. Humanity had taken its first step toward mastery. Not mastery over the world that would come later, but mastery over themselves. And that, more than any tool or fire or weapon, was what would carry them forward into the future. 2.5 million years later, you sit in comfort. Climate control, abundant food, clean water at the turn of a tap, safety, security, opportunity. Everything your ancestors fought and bled and died to give you. But the same battles they faced, they are still being fought. Not against lions or hyenas or drought, but against chaos. Against the same forces that threaten to destroy that fragile clan on the African savannah. The inability to control your mouth, your mind, your mood, your resources. Look at your life right now. Honestly, are you in control? Or are you reactive, chaotic, drifting through each day without discipline, without intention, without purpose? How many words have you spoken today that you regret? How many arguments could have been avoided if you had just paused, breathed, and chosen your words carefully? Your mouth is a tool. It can build bridges or burn them. It can inspire or destroy it. It can create opportunities or close doors forever. Every word you speak is a choice. And if you are not deliberate about those choices, you are letting chaos control your life. What about your mind? Are you feeding it with purpose, with knowledge, with intention? Or are you letting it run wild, consumed by fear, by doubt, by the endless noise of a world designed to distract you? Your ancestors survived because they learned to focus, to control their thoughts, to push through fear and exhaustion and despair. You have that same capability, that same power, but you have to choose it every single day. And you were moved. How many days have been ruined because you woke up feeling off? because something small happened and you let it spiral into something big. Your ancestors did not have the luxury of bad moods. A bad mood meant distraction. Distraction meant death. You are not facing lions, but you are facing your own life, your own future. And if you cannot control your emotional state, if you cannot choose positivity and resilience, even when things are hard, you are surrendering your power. You are letting external circumstances dictate your internal reality. Finally, your resources, your money, your time, your energy. Are you managing them with intention, or are you spending recklessly, wasting time on things that do not matter, burning energy on distractions that lead nowhere? Your ancestors survived because they learned to ration, to save, to plan for tomorrow, even when today felt impossible. You have access to more resources than they could have ever imagined, but resources without discipline are just potential waiting to be wasted. Here is the truth. You are the descendant of survivors, of individuals who faced impossible odds and refused to quit, who learned control when everything in their biology screamed at them to panic, to react, to give in. You carry their DNA, their resilience, their strength, but you also carry their lessons. Control your mouth. Speak with intention. Build with your words. Do not destroy. Control your mind. Feed it with purpose. Do not let fear or doubt or distraction steal your focus. Control your mood. Choose resilience. Choose positivity, even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. Control your resources. Manage your time, your money, your energy, like they are sacred. Because they are. You live in a world of abundance that they could never have imagined. You have tools they could never have dreamed of. You have opportunities that would have seemed like magic to them. But all of that means nothing if you do not have control. Because abundance without discipline is just noise. Opportunity without focus is just distraction. Potential without action is just a dream that dies with you. So here is what you do. Today, right now, you take control. You start with your mouth. Before you speak, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this true? Is this kind? Is this building something or tearing it down? Make every word count. Make every conversation matter. Stop wasting breath on gossip, on complaints, on negativity that serves no purpose. Speak life. Speak through. Speak with intention. You continue with your mind. Guard it like the most valuable thing you own. Stop feeding it garbage. Stop consuming content that makes you anxious, angry, or envious. Fill your mind with knowledge, with wisdom, with the voices of people who have walked the path you want to walk. Read, learn, grow, challenge yourself. And when fear creeps in, when doubt tries to take hold, catch it, challenge it, replace it with something stronger. You master your mood. Stop letting external circumstances dictate your internal state. Wake up every morning and choose your energy. Choose gratitude. Choose positivity. Choose to see the good, even when it is hard to find. And when something goes wrong, when life throws you a curveball, do not let it derail your entire day. Acknowledge it, learn from Italiano, and move forward. Because your mood is your responsibility, no one else's. And you take control of your resources. Create a plan. Know where your money is going. Know how your time is being spent. Know what you are investing your energy into. Stop wasting. Stop being careless. Treat your resources like they are sacred, because they are the tools you will use to build the life you want. And if you waste them, you are wasting your future. For law, simple, ancient, proven across 2.5 million years of human history. Control your mouth. Control your mind. Control your mood. Control your resources. This is not easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But look around. Most people are not in control. Most people are reactive, chaotic, drifting through life without direction, without discipline, without purpose. Most people waste their potential because they never learn the fundamental lesson that your ancestors paid for with their blood. Control yourself, and you control your destiny. But you are not most people. You are reading this right now because something inside you knows you are capable of more. Something inside you recognizes that you have been living beneath your potential, that you have been letting chaos run the show, and you are ready for that to change. So, change it today. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when everything is perfect and you feel ready. No, because waiting for the perfect moment is just another form of losing control. The perfect moment does not exist. There is only this moment. And what you do with it. Your ancestors stood on the edge of extinction and chose survival, chose discipline, chose control. And because they made that choice, you are here. You exist. You have this opportunity. Do not waste it. Do not let another day go by where you are reactive instead of intentional, where you are chaotic instead of disciplined, where you are drifting instead of driving. You have the power. You have always had the power. You just have to claim it. Control your mouth. Master your words. Use them to build, to inspire, to create. Control your mind. Master your thoughts. Feed it with purpose, challenge, and growth. Control your mood. Master your emotions. Choose positivity. Choose resilience. Choose strength. Control your resources. Master your time, money, and energy. Invest them wisely in the future you are building. Do this, and you do not just survive. You thrive. You become the person you were always meant to be. The person your ancestors fought to make possible. The scarred male who led his clan through the wilderness did not have the advantages you have. He did not have safety or comfort or abundance. He had only his will, his discipline, his refusal to surrender to chaos. And it was enough. It saved his clan. It changed the course of human history. You have so much more. But the question is, will you use it? Will you take control? Will you master yourself? Will you honor the legacy of those who came before you by living with intention, with purpose, with discipline? The choice is yours. It always has been. But choose now, because time is the one resource you cannot get back. And every moment you spend in chaos is a moment you will never reclaim. Control your mouth. Control your mind. Control your mood. Control your resources. Master these four, and you master your life. And when you master your life, there is nothing you cannot achieve. The 4 laws that saved a small clan on the African savannah 2.5 million years ago. They still apply. They will always apply. Because the fundamental challenge of being human has not changed. The world will always be chaotic, unpredictable, full of dangers and distractions and things beyond your control. But you can control yourself. And when you do, everything changes. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop drifting and start directing. You stop surviving and start thriving. Because control is not about rigidity. It is not about suppressing who you are or denying yourself joy or freedom. Control is about mastery. It is about understanding that you have power, real, tangible power over the trajectory of your life. Think about the scarred male who led his clan through the wilderness. He was not the strongest. He was not the fastest. He was scarred, limping, aging. But he had something more valuable than physical strength. He had discipline, he had wisdom. He had learned through decades of brutal experience that the battles worth winning are fought internally first. When the hyenas circled, he did not panic. When the lionesses threatened, he did not react recklessly. When his clan was fracturing under the weight of fear and hunger, he did not give in to despair. He controlled himself, and in controlling himself, he saved them all. You have that same choice every single day when life throws chaos at you, and you can panic, or you can breathe. You can react, or you can respond. You can let your emotions hijack your decisions, or you can pause, center yourself, and choose the path forward with clarity and purpose. When someone says something that hurts you, you can lash out, or you can control your mouth and respond with wisdom. When fear whispers that you are not good enough, you can believe it, or you can control your mind and replace that lie with truth. When everything feels overwhelming, you can spiral into negativity. Or you can control your mood and choose gratitude. Choose perspective. Choose to see the opportunity hidden in the obstacle. And when resources are tight, when money is scarce, when time feels limited, when energy is running low, you can waste what little you have. Or you can control your resources and manage them with the discipline of someone who understands that every choice compounds. Every decision builds towards something larger. This is not motivational theory. This is evolutionary fact. The humans who learned these lessons survived. The ones who did not, they are forgotten. Lost to time. Their bloodlines ended, but yours did not. You are here because your ancestors mastered these principles, and now it is your turn.